Our World in 2074. Hello everyone. Welcome to our channel. This video series is designed to give you a glimpse on what life on Earth will be like in 2074 or 50 years from now. How artificial intelligence in its advanced form will transform our planet and our civilization. The two greatest mysteries in all of nature are the mind and the universe. The human brain has around 86 billion neurons. This is almost as many as the stars in our galaxy, the Milky Way. With over 100 trillion neural connections between these neurons, the human brain can perform 10 quadrillion calculations per second, the same as a computer the size of a large city. Yet, everything happens from the shoulders up. The domain of space-time is the privilege of this small organ in humans. The human mind has an ability which distinguishes us from animals, the ability of projecting the future. Other creatures, take for example your dog, does not know of tomorrow. Dogs live in the moment. They don't anticipate tomorrow or grieve for yesterday. They only know what is in their life now. It's important to note that while animals show behaviors suggesting some understanding of future events, it is very different from our human concept of tomorrow. Their understanding is tied to specific events or needs rather than an abstract notion of future time. So, let's embark on this journey to explore what life on Earth will be like in 2074 or 50 years from now. We'll start with part 1. In this part, we will revisit the past industrial and scientific revolutions that we have had and how these revolutions have changed everything. This will allow us to draw a trajectory of our possible future. The first industrial revolution started around 1760s. It all began in Britain with the invention of the steam engine and the mechanization of textiles. The manufacturing industry was transformed forever. Work that once took days now took only hours. This new era of production led to the race for control over raw material and resources, resulting in the rise of colonization. The creation of factories created new jobs and a boost to overall economic growth in the Western world. This era also gave rise to our modern-day schooling system of structured schools and colleges, with a curriculum and discipline designed around creating a workforce to support the massive demand of factory workers and managers. The Second Industrial Revolution began between the 1870s and 1914 and lasted until the early 1950s. This was characterized by the rise of electricity and the invention of the internal combustion engine. These advancements led to mass production and the creation of consumer goods on a large scale. The assembly line invented by Henry Ford was also a product of this revolution, and with it, the manufacturing process became more efficient than ever before. Factories produced cars, buses, commercial and military aircrafts, television, refrigerators, vacuum machines, washers and dryers, and all sorts of other consumer goods. Nuclear bombs, high-rise buildings, and a trend towards urbanization were also notable entries into our civilization in this era. Then we come to the Third Industrial Revolution, which can be called the Digital Revolution. It originated in the late 1960s, and tremendous developments in information technology brought us our modern-day computers, telecommunications technology, the internet, lasers, fiber optics, social media platforms, e-commerce, and spread of information and knowledge via the internet. This third industrial revolution saw massive automation of manufacturing processes and the creation of new industries such as software and information technology. Business and manufacturing processes began to be powered by computers and productivity soared. Humans in the workforce began to be replaced by machines, especially on factory floors. Of course, initially there was a big concern of job losses as with the previous revolutions, but humans still remained relevant and workers adapted and upskilled themselves to use and operate the machines. This era will also be known as the Great Revolution, where humans ventured into space, launched satellites and space telescopes, landed on the moon, and launched numerous other space programs that led to the discovery of the vastness of our universe. And now we come to the present day, the Fourth Industrial Revolution. In just 14 years since 2010, we have witnessed an exponential rise of artificial intelligence, or AI, Internet of Things, or IoT as it is called, biotechnology and nanotechnology wonders. It is now the year 2024, and AI has already begun to transform almost all industries. AI-powered machines can communicate with each other, and decision-making has become increasingly data-driven. This has resulted in a whole new world of possibilities, from smarter and more efficient manufacturing processes to self-driving cars, smart cities, AI-generated creative content like images, videos, audio, music, storybooks and novels, research papers, and a whole lot of other cognitive stuff. AI can now even generate computer programs in minutes, a task that would normally take human programmers months to do. The biggest worry of the day is job losses. Many professions, such as artists, writers and authors, doctors, programmers, lawyers, accountants, bankers, and even the entire production crews of Hollywood movies are nervous due to the potential impact of AI on their jobs and income. The concern of job losses is a serious threat, and rightly so. In the previous industrial revolutions, humans managed to stay relevant due to the fact that machines did not have the capability to generate new stuff on their own. Human creativity and decisions were still required for machines to perform their tasks. But all that is changing now, and changing at speeds that humans are not prepared for. The rate at which AI is improving is creating fears of disruption in almost everything we do. This brings us to the fast-emerging fifth industrial revolution. Some scientists say that we may already have stepped our foot into that era with the powerful capabilities of generative artificial intelligence, computer vision, and highly immersive virtual world technologies. In a couple of years from now, let's say by 2026, AI will be able to generate complete enterprise-level software applications in a few minutes by just following a few instructions, such as prompts given by humans or other machines. Part 2 of our World in 2074 series. In Part 1, we covered the previous industrial revolution since the 1760s, and we concluded that humanity may already have stepped out of the fourth industrial revolution and entered the doorway of the fifth industrial revolution, the artificial intelligence era. An era that will take our civilization into an uncharted territory, possibly a post-human era. So that begs the question, where will we be 50 years from now? Most futurists agree on one fact: the next 2 to 3 decades will bring about the greatest and fastest transformation ever in technology, science, environment, and interpersonal relationships. We are now living in an era of great science acceleration that has unpredictable consequences. In the last decades, we have produced and stored more scientific knowledge than in all the history of humanity. In 2054, knowledge will have doubled by many folds. By 2054, artificial superintelligence most likely will have arrived, and with it, we would be a civilization that might begin to spread at some significant fraction of the speed of light in all directions in the universe. We will start building infrastructure deep in outer space that would then be used by future biological and non-biological human beings for various purposes. What that purpose is depends on how our transition from human to post-human beings unfolds. Humanity is facing the most shocking challenge ever, whose outcome may depend on the continuity of our species. The path we choose will have different consequences. In the best-case scenario, we could imagine super happy humans living immensely wonderful lives, doing things we can't even begin to imagine, feeling ecstatically blissful and living for unlimited lifespans for thousands of years, interacting, creating, and experiencing virtual worlds. But this wonderful and blissful future could also be a completely synthetic and meaningless life as measured by our present standards of happiness. The future of 2074 could be dark, horrible, and dystopian. A few powerful and ultra-rich humans may form a master race, and the rest of humanity reduced down to useless creatures that are produced and discarded at will. This too is a possibility. In the end, the future of humanity will depend on the utility function of AI that achieves superintelligence, and that superintelligence then will be in a position to shape the longer-term outcomes. So a good future depends on whether, as a species, we can sufficiently resolve our cultural, territorial, religious, and ideological conflicts and agree on a common AI ethics definition to overcome biases and the control problem in time. But eventually we're going to get to the point where we have to decide what is a machine and what is a human, and that process has already started. It does appear that we are already nearing a decisive moment in history. The events unfolding over the next 2 or 3 decades will decide what happens to life on Earth for humans and all other life forms, creatures, and vegetation that depend on planet Earth for their survival for the remaining 2 to 3 billion years of planet Earth. Why 2 billion years? Well, in 2 to 3 billion years from now, our only energy source, our sun, will have expanded in size to swallow our entire solar system. If humanity and other species do not abandon Earth and find other habitable spaces outside our solar system, by the next 2 billion years, everything humans have worked for will end forever anyway. So, Humanity is truly at a decisive moment. Our entire civilization will change more in the next 20 years than the previous 3 centuries. We are at a point of exponential change, for survival or for extinction. We are now at the point where lots of science fiction is becoming science fact. Exponential change is all around us. For example, take Moore's law, the doubling of circuit densities every 12 to 18 months. The exponential phenomenon really means that we cannot count as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. We now have to count in terms of exponentials such as 2, 4, 8, 16, and so on. In 10 years, we will be at 128, that is 30 times as much as today, and if we go these 30 steps, we are at 1 billion. The result of this exponential power is that by 2030, we will all carry 1 million times more powerful artificial intelligence-powered supercomputers in our pockets. We would be able to do our own DNA analysis in just 14 seconds. By 2050, each human possibly will have a computer that has the capacity of all human brains. That's roughly 10 billion brains. What's interesting is that people look at the exponential phenomenon as if there is something exotic about it. But in fact, we're surrounded by exponentials today, not just in technology, but also in the biological world. 2 cells doubling over 9 months gives you 1 trillion cells. And what do we call that? It's a baby. Exponentials in biology is the miracle of birth. We see exponential growth everywhere around us. We are absolutely living in an age of exponentials, but culturally accommodating ourselves to that change is what is creating the tension in global society today. The smartphone will no longer be the best-selling product ever. We walk exponentially in a one-way process for an inevitable lightness of matter. We witness dematerialization of technology, around us spawning an invisible intelligence network. The computer will no longer be on a desk. It will be spread and installed in our eyes, in our hands, in our feet, and possibly in our brain. It's the new age of transparency. Computers will become invisible. Intelligence will be everywhere and nowhere like electricity today. Everywhere you go, you know that there is electricity. It is in the walls, the floor, the ceiling, everywhere, but yet it's nowhere. Electricity is invisible. That's the way intelligence will also be. You'll walk into a room, you'll simply talk to the walls, and the walls will talk back to you. And when you want entertainment, you will mentally connect to the internet. The internet will become a brain net where emotions, feelings, sensations will be transcribed around the planet Earth almost instantly. Internet of Things, or IoT, means to connect devices to connect machines, to connect the buildings, so that we can have and use more information than today. Some people are saying we're going to have 500 billion connected devices in the world in 2025. Cars, airplanes, engines, trucks, food, shops, everything, and eventually several trillion connected devices. As an example, today we are using around 12% of the data we could use. So this is what we are going for when we talk about Internet of Things, to get the data to create also more data to make data available, and finally then to use the data and create value out of it. And chances are that your refrigerator will be in conversation with the network, and you won't even realize that you were running low on milk, but it's delivered just in time. Nature is made known in formulas that the brain decodes and translates into scientific advances. The ability to create artificial intelligence is another step whose scope is still fully unknown. This concludes Part 2 of Our World in 2074. Part 3 of Our World in 2074 series. We're in the middle of a sensor revolution. We first created computers, then we networked them together and created cyberspace. And now we're giving them eyes, ears, smell, and other sensory organs and tasking them to observe and manipulate the world on our behalf. And in the next phase, we'll give them superintelligence. These AI robots will be creatures that are able to observe the environment in which they are integrated and will move around and make decisions according to objectives set by humans. Currently, robots are at level 1 of consciousness. They know how to locate themselves. They are gradually evolving to level 2, that of emotions. The next level is the ability to plan the future. It is estimated that by 2050, they'll replace more than half of the professions performed today by human beings, professions such as carpentry, plumbing, electrical, gardening, housekeeping, cooking, warehouse workers, security guards, policing, etc. It is very likely that by 2050, advanced nations like USA, China and Russia will have replaced more than 50% of their fighting force with robots. Robot battalions will be in the front lines. The robotics industry will be bigger than the automobile industry of today. As soon as robots become more capable, they will live with us in many different ways. And there is no reason why we should not rely more and more on robots like we rely on washing machines, computers, and on whatever that helps us in achieving our aims, goals, and vision. This raises the real ethical question. What will be our relation to these robots once they are cognitive and are more aware of their environment and start developing their own particularities? We are just scratching the surface to that question. We are not sure if in 50 years we will have found uniform answers, or different cultures might develop very different answers to this question. But what happens if they turn against us? Our most advanced robots today can read, walk, run, climb mountains, traverse difficult terrain, and interact with people. But when it comes to intelligence, they are nowhere near a human being. But in the next 25 years, they will become nearly as intelligent as humans. At that point, they could be dangerous because they will have a will of their own. They'll have a consciousness of their own, an agenda of their own which may not include humans. How would humans know if they have murderous thoughts? And what would humans do if robots have destructive thoughts? These and several other such questions remain unanswered. By 2050, not only robots will be extremely intelligent, but we may see an improved human species, far removed from the randomness of nature and determined by the choices of human beings themselves. While currently everybody is obsessed with AI and digital technology, but behind this is a much bigger revolution. The biggest changes are going to happen in biology, and they are in the human organism itself. It's possible that in the next 25 to 30 years, human brains have reached levels of intelligence never before achieved, and that the choice of eye color or baby's hair becomes a human choice. Genetic manipulation opens a new chapter in the creation of synthetic life. In the next few years, the chance of creating useful bacteria, a new hybrid species in laboratory, is possible. But none of these chances is risk-free. Is this a door we should open? We're right on the cusp of a shift from digital technology to biology that is going to grow exponentially. And a way to get a sense of this is if you went back to 1900s, the first third of the last century was shaped by chemistry and chemists, the middle third was shaped by physics and physicists, it was a materials revolution, and the final third was electronics and digital technology. We're in the early stages where biology is growing faster and changing more rapidly than digital technology is, but we don't quite see the consequences yet. We live in the pre-incorporation of technology in the human body era. The transhumanism has started knocking on the door. The number of humans with computer chips in their bodies is rising in Asia, Europe, and America. We have cases now where the victims of tetraplegia or mental illnesses gain new hope with intracranial devices. Neuralink is a company that creates a chip implant that is a generalized brain interface to restore autonomy to those with unmet medical needs. It is possible that in 100 years, the intersection between technology and human capabilities will create a large network of brains that communicate mentally with thought. As scientists move forward with the human brain decoding, new windows open for the human-machine fusion, such as the power of recording memories and sending memories and sensations to others. Imagine, in the future we'll wake up in the morning, push a button, and watch the dream that we had the previous night. And when we go to sleep, a machine will keep producing a video of images of what we are dreaming of. This is not science fiction. This is almost science fact now. Are we going to put technology inside our bodies? Of course. We will without a doubt over the next several decades find ways to augment human cognition and human abilities with biologically based machines. Augmenting human intellect is absolutely something that we are moving towards. The concept of intelligence augmentation, or IA, is not new. Artificial intelligence, AI, was a term coined by John McCarthy, Stanford professor in 1958, and he said this is going to create supercomputers that are smarter than we are and evolving faster than us and presumably replace us. On the other hand, intelligence augmentation, or IA, was a term coined by Douglas Engelbart, a Stanford researcher, and he said no, the point of all these more powerful machines is to create ever more powerful tools that augment and enhance human intelligence. It is very possible that the future may be intelligence augmentation. The machines may not completely replace us. We may have a very deep symbiosis between man and machine. Another term emerging for this concept is ACI, or artificial capable intelligence. When human brains connect to computers through brain-to-machine interfaces, a whole new revolution emerges in the way we view the world. For example, humans will be able to send emotions of their experiences in form of mental images to others and also record their memories as those thoughts emerge. Alzheimer's disease may be the disease of the century, with millions of people just wandering the streets wondering, who am I? Where do I live? They're going to have a button. They'll push a button and memories will come flooding into their hippocampus, reminding them who they are, where they live, what they have to do today. If you want to learn calculus, you have to learn mathematics first. Maybe students will just push a button, and all of a sudden they will understand higher mathematics. The idea that you could take a human mind and upload it into a computer seems something impossible now, but with improved technology can be doable. In that case, you would invoke a 3D, lifelike and identical hologram of the original person that would have the same memories, personality, and the ability to think and talk as the original human. If this can be accomplished, then when we go to a library and want to learn about a historic figure, we will talk to a holographic image of that person. The hologram looks, talks, and has all his mannerisms, memories, and all the biographical information of the original person. A little bit further down the line, we may become immortal. Our great-great-grandkids will go to the library and talk to us, conjure up who we are, and will leave a digital fingerprint, a footprint of all our habits, our memories, our sensations, and we'll have an interesting conversation with our descendants, even if we have long since passed away. And what's beyond that? Beyond that is the digitalization of the entire human brain. All 86 billion neurons and over 100 trillion neural connections. This is called the Connectome Project, and its aim is to map all the neural connections in the brain to uncover the insights into the details of the wiring of the brain, how it works, and how its structure underlies its many functions. Which raises the question, when we die and our connectome lives on in a computer, are we really dead? Think about that. This is called digital immortality. We live in the era of genetics intersection with nanotechnology and artificial intelligence. The transposition of borders bring multidisciplinary revelations with scopes never before imagined. Genetics will allow the control and evasion from various diseases. It will slow aging and prolong life. Our grandkids may have the option of perhaps hitting the age of 30 and stopping. They may like being 30 years of age for many decades to come. Of course, we don't have the fountain of youth, but it's definitely possible that in the coming decades we'll be able to unravel the genetics and the chemistry of the aging process and therefore begin to stop the aging process. Just 10 or 15 years ago, we did not know what aging really was. Now we do. We now know that aging is the buildup of error in our body. It is genetic error, cellular error, and molecular error in our body. We now know that there are error-correcting mechanisms, but eventually these mechanisms wear out too. That's why we age and die. Another development that will impact human longevity is synthetic organs. Human organs are being printed on 3D printing devices, and it's very exciting because there's an obvious great use case for it. Current state-of-the-art in organ printing involves printing the structure and shape as the foundation, where actually the cells grow on. We can create a 3D geometry of an organ on which the living human cells are injected, and the cells grow into the organs. The easier ones to print are organs like the skin because it is not very complex 3D. Other simple organs like bladders, livers, pancreas are being worked on, and in a couple of decades from now, we may see direct 3D organ printing instead of growing cells on 3D geometry. We are now beginning to create a human body shop just like an automobile body shop where you order a fender or a steering wheel or a new car. We can now grow in the laboratory skin, bone, cartilage, noses, ears, heart valves, bladders, windpipes using our own cells, so there is no risk of our body rejecting the organ. As you must have guessed, synthetic organs and using bioengineering to slow down aging will mostly benefit the rich and privileged class of humans, as it is they who want to live forever and keep enjoying their self-compounding investments and wealth. The poor, on the other hand, only extend and prolong their misery. So if AI in its future form continues to benefit the rich and powerful, we'll have greedy, cruel, and indifferent humans living forever while the rest may not choose to live forever. This goes back to a point that was discussed earlier, and that was a good future depends on whether as a species, we can sufficiently resolve our cultural, territorial, religious, and ideological conflicts and agree on a common AI ethics definition to overcome biases and the control problem. This is a monumental task and requires rethinking of what it means to be human. Questions such as, does human life, regardless of whose, have more value than money, power, ideology, religions, and cultures? Obviously, this is just one of the many questions whose answers will have to be etched into an artificial superintelligence to create a just and fair world. It's likely that in the next 50 years the human beings develop their skills and ascend to the next level. Perhaps that level is superior spirituality and indifference to materialism. The ability to simulate the future has been a motive for human intelligence evolution. How far we'll go depends on what we can balance between the potential of technology and the threats of everyday life. Will the disputes over land, gold, oil and gas, water, fisheries, food resources, cultures, religions, and ideologies prevent the human species from fighting their real battle for survival? This must be decided by the 99% of the human species, and not by the 1% who control all the strings to the dreams and hopes of humanity at large. Not by the kings, presidents, and prime ministers of nation-states, and certainly not by the United Nations, World Bank, IMF, or the World Economic Forum. This brings us to the conclusion of our three-part series, Our World in 2074. We hope you enjoyed the programs and found the information thought-provoking. The more you know about AI and biotechnology advancements, the more you will be able to contribute to meaningful discussions on the ethics and control of these technologies. AI might be the last and final invention of humans, and it is crucial to ensure that it is used to benefit all of humanity, not just a select group of people. AI has the potential to truly change our world, and it's essential that this change is real and not merely confined to slogans and rhetoric. Thanks for watching, and do subscribe to our channel to stay informed on future topics on AI and its implications.